Good morning, everyone. Um, my name is Max. I'm the founder of Kamui, which is a new platform that we launched earlier this year. What we do at Kamui is that we believe that connecting to nature is important for health, spirituality, and sustainability. And we work with the leading guides and operators around Japan to offer nature-based experiences. These range from meditation to yoga to kind of the traditional outdoor activities like ski and snowboarding and hiking, climbing, to innovative new experiences in nature. Experiences that combine nature and food and local culture. But our goal really is to connect more people to nature and allow them to integrate it into their lives. Japanese culture kind of has a deep reverence for nature and considers that the connection between humans and nature is very important. And obviously, Kamui is inspired by Japanese culture. I think that the reverence for nature exists in Shintoism, Zen Buddhism, and Shugendo, as we'll find out later on. My journey is a little bit different in terms of I really kind of came into the spiritual aspect of nature through backcountry snowboarding. So, my mother's Japanese, so I was brought up here, and I had the Japanese kind of culture ingrained in me as I grew up. But I moved back from London in 2006 and fell in love with backcountry snowboarding. So backcountry snowboarding, for people who have never done it, is really snowboarding in areas that are not ski resorts. So you're climbing up mountains and kind of riding down mountains. And I think the initial kind of attraction of it is really the excitement and the state of flow that you get as you ride down mountains. But the more I did it, the more I realized it was really a meditative kind of spiritual experience for me. And just to give you a kind of an idea of how that is, you're climbing up mountains. There is a dangers involved, avalanches and other dangers, and you have to be very alert and in the moment. And you're using as little energy as possible, and you're trying not to sweat as you climb up these mountains, and obviously in beautiful natural environments. And that aspect of it really kind of blew me away. And the more I did it, the more I realized it was important for my health and happiness. And I guess the more I started to read around it. And I think a few years back, there was a book called Stealing Fire, about the importance of the state of flow for brain optimization and happiness. And then more recently, there was a number of books released about the importance of nature and the science behind nature and how that affects your health. I think the most recent one was called Nature Fix. So I started to read about it and really started getting interested in it, and which is why ultimately we launched Kamui. On the kind of today's topic, nature as a spiritual resource, I think this is not a particularly novel subject, and I think it's been dealt with in various cultures. I think the Japanese perspective is quite different to the Western perspective. There are some kind of studies done in the West, and I think I've kind of copied one quote which I found quite interesting, which goes into the fact that regions with higher levels of natural amenities may have lower religious adherence. So really suggesting that nature and religion compete in the Western kind of thinking. I think my perspective is much more kind of Japanese, which is that nature is kind of a central part of spirituality and religion. And I think, in light of the decline in popularity of religions around the world, potentially, I think nature is the perfect resource kind of to satisfy people's needs for inspiration, awe, and kind of divine connection. Thank you very much.
Who's next? Excellent, Max. Thank you very much. Ito Sensei.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Toryo Ito. I live in the temple in Kyoto, in Gion district. My temple has more than 600 years history. That's a Zen temple. Then I was born and raised up at that temple. So that is our temple and my home. And then Ito family succeeded 3 generations. So I'm third generation. Yes, every morning I practiced meditation, sitting meditation for 15 minutes. Often, sitting meditation is described as just sitting. The reality, just sitting means try to hear everything, try to feel all the sensation throughout the body. So really heighten the sense to open up yourself. That can that is a attitude to receive the surroundings or nature directly every day. So today I'd like to share the 2 aspects of the Japanese perspective for the nature. So one is waiting. The other is dissolving the boundary. Okay, first, let's go on to from the dissolving barrier boundaries. Usually, when you are busy, you tend to conceptualize the self is contained within your mind only. Then your body is like become tools, like machine parts. But that is too much separation between mind and body. After good exercise like walking or sitting still, you can bring back the connection between your mind and body with deep breathing. Then it start to realize, there is a kind of small nature inside of the body. Our body is like a nature, which means some part uncontrollable. Then this a lot of not this is a singular existence, more like a multiple existence. Then I can feel that can tell me a lot, and that's information can enrich yourself. But usually it's like more separated. After getting back the connection between your mind and body, you can receive the surroundings more smoothly. Or, for example, birds singing or wind passing through the leaves. Those subtle sounds is also become part of me. So gradually, the boundary between you and the garden, you and surroundings, become blur or weaker. And then gradually, so human being can be more relaxed and flexible or swaying as if the branches of the tree swaying in the wind. So the nature can tell us a lot. So that's one of the point. Usually the boundary of the self is too strong. So try not to separate yourself as an individual too much for some time in the day. That can help the connection a lot. And then also that affects a lot about the goal of life. In modern life, people emphasize self-development or self-construction. So build up your confidence and build up your career and achieve the goal, and then stretching goal, or and then evaluate yourself a lot. That is sometimes too much stress and always lead it a lot of battle to your life. But in Japanese traditional thinking way, it's like more self-deconstruction. They don't deny to set up the goal, but they emphasize more enjoying each of the process of the activities, then focus on the present moment to immerse yourself to the one activity, such as decorating flowers or serving tea. Then it becomes a endless path. It's they say sado, kado. It's like a path. It's endless means sometimes too far, but it has a good connotation to Japanese. Or you can enjoy forever. There is no goal. It's like for me like health. Health is not goal itself, right? Health is keep trying to be healthy. Then you can enjoy health. Once you thought, oh, I achieved health, but it doesn't work, always changing. So it's like that. So life is always focusing on the activities in everyday life. Oh, sorry, that was too long. That's boundary. Then, waiting. So meditation is superficial, just sitting. But around that time, that's cultivate a lot to wait everything until nature tells you something. Then when they waiting is not taken as a activity action, but in Japanese traditions, they find a lot of significance of act of waiting. For me, waiting is like action. So because when you want to wait properly, something important, you have to prepare a lot, set the space, sometimes decorate good decoration. When you want to wait something sacred, for example, oshogatsu, welcome oshogatsu, you have to put pine tree. Pine tree pronounced as matsu. Then waiting is also matsu. So matsu is the key word. And then God or divine comes very subtle way. If you don't keep being aware of subtleness, you may miss it. So Japanese spirituality is not big, huge, obvious, little, small, sometimes many. So heighten your sense to be aware of the small movement of the nature. And then the spiritual comes very silent, but still that is otozureru is in Japanese visiting. Otozure is originally means oto tsureru. Oto is sound and tsureru is bringing. So bringing a small sound. So we have to listen to the small sound. Oh, something came, and then give a prayer or bow thanks to the spirituality of the world. Then they don't remain all the time there. They are like a visitor. And they said, marebito. Marebito is literally kyakujin, the guest. So the spiritual are called marebito. Marebito comes and so leave. So we need to good preparation and wait. That is the fundamental attitude to welcome spiritual. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ito Sensei. It's a lot to think about, a lot to hopefully feel about. Sakamoto-san.
あれ、皆さんおはようございます。ちょっと僕は日本語でよろしくお願いします。僕は千葉県出身なんですけど、今は山形県、日本の北の方に住んでいます。
My best to translate. So Daizaburo is from Chiba originally, but lives in Yamagata now.
これが僕が山にいる時の姿ですね。
And this is how what he wears when he's in the mountains.
山伏と言われる人たちが山ではこういう白い死んだ人が白い格好をするんですけど、そういった姿をしながら山に入っていきます。
So Yamabushi wear white clothing when they're in the mountains. White is associated with people who've passed away when they're in the mountains.
僕は30歳の時に、この山伏の世界に入って、それはもともと子供の頃から絵を描くことが好きだったんですけど、どうして人間って絵を描いたり芸術を作ったりするんだろうっていうふうにずっと疑問を持っていました。
So Daizaburo became a Yamabushi or started this path when he was 30 years old, and he was driven to it because he was always enjoyed painting and was thinking about why he wanted to become a painter or wanted to paint.
そして山伏が日本の中で芸術や芸能のこう成り立ちにすごく関わりがある人だったって分かって、それで興味を持ちました。
And he found out that Yamabushi had a very close connection to art in Japan, and that was the reason he went down this path.
はい。これじゃあ次いいですか。これが僕が作った作品なんですけども、こうした東北であったりとか日本の自然の中でこう培われた文化というのをこう活用していろいろな作品を作っています。
This is one of his pieces, art pieces that he creates using natural kind of materials.
はい、じゃあ次いいですか。はい、これは去年ドイツで行われているドキュメンタという芸術祭、世界で最も重要な芸術祭と言われてますけども、そこに参加した時の写真です。
This is a photo from Documenta, a very famous art festival in Germany. Last year, Daizaburo kind of exhibited there.
この庭に穴を掘って3日間僕はその中に入りました。
And his performance was, his piece was really digging a hole in a garden and being buried in that hole for 3 days.
ご飯は食べずにお水だけ。
No food, just water.
じゃあ次の写真お願いします。そして3日経って出た時にこうした芸能パフォーマンスを行いました。
So after 3 days, he emerged, and this was his performance, a photo of his performance.
じゃあ次の写真。これ結構ニュースになってヨーロッパ中に広がったんですね。
This was, quite covered quite widely in the news across Europe.
これは穴に入った時のニュースで。あと出た時にもニュースになったんです。
So he was featured when he went into the hole, and then also when he came out of the hole.
人類の最も古い芸術っていうのは洞窟の中で作られているんですね。洞窟壁画。
So the oldest art in the world has been created in caves.
で昔の人たち、子供から大人になるときに洞窟にこもってその中で何らかの儀式をしてそうすることで大人になって社会の中に参加できるっていう文化があったと考えられています。
So the thinking is that younger people went into caves and performed a ceremony, and when they were ready to become adults, they came out of the caves.
それは山伏の文化に実は結構残っていて、山伏もある年齢に達した時に、地元の人が20歳ぐらいですかね、山に来てそれで山で修行して、そしたらお前は一人前だと地元の人に認められるというようなそういうところがあります。
So this exists in Yamabushi culture in that generally around the age of 20, people go into the mountains, and when they come out, they become adults.
で注意深く調べてみるとそれは山伏の文化だけじゃなくて日本のいろいろなお祭りであるとか芸能の中に残っています。
And this, exists in many different cultures and belief systems within Japan, including, for example, omatsuri or festivals.
すごく身分の高い人の文化の中にもそれが残っていて、例えば天皇が代替わりするときに衣をかぶってそして再び出てくるという儀礼をするんですけれども、それもこうした何かこもるっていう穴に入ったり何かにこもるっていう文化の一つです。
So there are parallels also with when the emperor in Japan becomes the emperor, he goes into hiding and 衣って
布
and comes out wearing a cloth. So there are similarities there.
じゃあ次の写真お願いします。そういう観点を持ってみると、山伏が持っている文化の重要性というのは日本だけじゃなくて世界各地に、通用する意味を持つんじゃないかと思います。
So Daizaburo believes that for this reason, Yamabushi culture is something that hopefully has value not just in Japan but globally.
これはボルネオ島の洞窟です。
This is a cave in Borneo.
ここでは4万年前の人骨も見つかっているそういう場所です。
in which was discovered, remains from 40,000 years ago.
写真の奥の方には家の跡、この洞窟に住んだ人の跡があって、つい最近までここには人が住んでいました。
So there's also people who lived here until recently.
じゃあ次の写真お願いします。この洞窟の、奥の方になんですけども、こうした洞窟壁画も残されています。
These are paintings found in the cave.
僕はこうして日本文化をこう深く掘り下げ調べていくことで日本だけじゃなくて、アジアであったりとか、ヨーロッパいろいろな世界各地の文化との共通点を見つけてそういうことを調べてそれを作品にするということを行っています。
So Daizaburo researches through Yamabushi culture. He looks for parallels with culture around Asia and around the world, and that inspires him to create art.
はい、じゃあ次の写真お願いします。これはタイのカンチャナプリというミャンマーとの国境近くにある山の中です。
This is in Thailand, Kanchanapuri, on the border with Myanmar.
はい。来年ちょっとタイで、展覧会があるので、そのリサーチをしたりとか、地元の民族の方と いろいろな自然の中での活動を行っています。
So next year he has a exhibition here, and he has been here to research and talk with the local kind of communities here.
じゃあ次の写真。はい。まあ今の時代かなりこう皆さんこうアイデンティティをどこに持つかっていうことが問題になってきているのではないかと僕は考えているんですけれども、まあ、そうした特にこれから AI というものが出てきたりして人はまあ仕事を失う可能性があるとか議論されてますけども、そうした生産から人が切り離された時にまた自分たちっていうのはアイデンティティを失う可能性があるんじゃないかと僕は考えてるんですけども、そうしたアイデンティティを失った時に自分たちがどこに立ち返れるんだろうかっていうことが非常にこう大きな問題だと思うんですね。まあ僕はそういうこともあって自分たちっていうのは何者なんだろうかと、まあ、そういう問いを持ちながらいろいろなリサーチをしたりとか作品作りというのを行っています。
So Daizaburo believes that in the modern kind of era, with the rise of things like AI, that humans are struggling with identity, and he, through his practices and his art, is really trying to kind of offer suggestions to that issue.
はい、ありがとうございます。
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I mean, this was a wonderful overview. You talked, Ito-san, you talked about the boundary between the mind and the body, the boundary between humans and nature, and trying to transcend that. And I think Max, with your revelations almost, right? While doing backcountry skiing, sort of becoming one with nature. And then Sakamoto-san, this immersion into nature, into the cave, for 3 days. I hope they served you some German beer while you were there. No, but seriously, obviously this whole question of identity. And maybe I start with Ito Sensei. For your meditation exercises, overcoming the boundary, being conscious of the waiting, bringing meaning to the waiting, and having this openness, for what nature brings, right, to the human condition. Talk to me a little bit about your perception of sort of Western culture. It's more monotheistic religions, right? Religions that are very prescriptive in terms of this is what you must do, this is what you must not do. Talk to me a little bit about the contrast that you see, because I think many of your practitioners for meditation are from the Western worlds. Just talk to me a little bit about the contrast that you personally experience and sense between sort of Western, religious and spiritual experiences compared to, your perception of that.
Yeah, when I talk about the concept of meditation, Western people understands more simply about it, because it's just start from relaxation. That's it. So they are very good at thinking in logically. Relaxing, and then increasing awareness. Then, what else? Something like that. Just step by step, they get a clear idea immediately. But actually, try to explain to Japanese is more tricky. Because they know the culture and history behind a lot. So when they when they try to meditate, quite complicated. They try. So the language is really has a big effect on comprehension of the activities. So probably to do to set a schedule, to set a goal, to organize everything. Probably English is very clear, and maybe Western language more proper. They can get a proper approach easier than Japanese. Japanese language is quite vague. But on the other hand, so what Japanese language is good at is express the gradation of the color. That is really important. So there are so many colors they learned by nature. For example, within red, there are many colors, akane, beni, blah blah, which means they get a lot of different type of impression by seeing, by observing nature. So when what the color is related to is, in my opinion, so human mind or emotion is also like a gradation of the color. So without direct speech, they can empathize other people's feeling very some very detail of the gradation so much as they see colors, in my opinion.
Sakamoto-san, sort of in the cave, that you built and were at for 3 days. I mean, do you compare that experience to meditation, or is there a difference? Is there a similarity? How do you think about this?
穴に入った時にまあ瞑想みたいな状態なのか、どう考えますか、その時間は。
僕はこの芸術祭だけじゃなくて季節ごとに穴に入っているんですよ。自分の山の中に穴を掘っていて、そこにこもってそういう時はやはりその自分自身であったりとか自然であったりとか、そういうところと向かい合うために入るんですけれども、この3日間の時は非常に騒がしくて話しかけられたりするんですよだからなかなか集中しようと思って入ったんですけど、特に最後の日はいろんな人が来てしまって集中がすごく難しかったなっていう。
So Daizaburo, not only for performances, but depending on the season, will go into holes in the nature, and typically that's really to kind of face himself, connect with nature, meditate in a way. For the performance, it was very noisy, and everyone was trying to talk to him, so it was very difficult for him to do that.
One question I had, with both the practice of meditation, as well as the Yamabushi practice. I mean, these are to be very crude, and these are very selfish acts, right? Because you ultimately you close yourself off from relationships with other human beings. Yes, you create an openness to nature, and hopefully, something will come out of that. But in terms of the relationship, with other people, how does that work? How do you get from the selfish act? And sorry, I put it this way, it's very crude, I realize that. But from the selfish act of meditation and self-enlightenment, how then do you go into community, into relations with other people?
ちょっとそこだけ訳しますけど、瞑想とか、ヤバ虫のなんか山に入るっていうのは結構イエスパーから考えると 自分勝手っていうかもう本当に一人になるっていうところが大きくて、そこから他の人となんでしょう、コミュニケーションを取ったり一緒になるっていうのはどういう形に行うんですか？
どうぞ坂本さん、先に。
こうしたことを行う、今だけを切り取ると、僕がそこでやってるっていう話になるんですけれども、やっぱりかつての社会の中でどうだったのかっていうふうに考えると、そういうことをするっていうのが、今ほど、不思議なことには見えなかったと思うんですね。で先ほども言いましたけども、自分たちっていうのは何者なのかっていう問いを持った時に、やはりこうして僕たちが自然であったり自分と向かい合うっていうことが自分たちが立ち返られる場所を確保するっていうことにつながると思うんで、いずれもっと自分たちがやってることに理解が深まるんじゃないかなと期待してるんですけど。
伊藤先生はどうですか
？First of all, I prefer group meditation to solo meditation. Because I can hear the breathing from the other people. That is also helpful. And also meditation cultivates the kind of a social skill. More than that, I think, because earlier I mentioned meditation nurtures the attitude to wait. So through conversation, now many books emphasize, listening is more important than speaking a lot, right? So waiting is foundation of listening to let the other people speak everything, and then accept, and then focus on speaking. So meditation works in that way.
Shall I translate Daizaburo's response? Despite the act of going into the mountains or being in a hole by yourself seeming selfish, I think it wasn't so unusual back in the day, and it's about finding a place to really think about your relationship with nature and also your relationship with other people around the world or in your community. So he believes it's important ultimately to it's about connecting with people as well.
One final question from my side, on this maybe to Ito Sensei, but also to Sakamoto-san and Max. I'd love to hear your opinion. I mean, you create an openness, you create an awareness, you become one, and this is good for yourself. This is good for hopefully your relations with other people and with nature. What do you do when somebody else forces you in a certain direction, is not the kind and gentle and open person, but dictates what it is that you ought to be doing, whether that name is Mr. Putin or Mr. Trump, leave it up to you. But what I'm trying to get to is, yes, this is wonderful. And like you said, it's good for your brain, it's good for your calm, it's good for your longevity, but the reality, unfortunately, of human interaction is that not so good people trying to force their actions on you, trying to disturb your calm. How do you deal with that? Yes, you have to give the answer. You're the monk.
So not good things. So bad leader push me to do that.
Yes.
What I dislike or what I'm not willing to do. It's a top issue of, how do you call that? Agency? So it depends on how you manage your agency. Still, whole activities are oh, it's tough to say. Don't go in my way, but still I can I can find a lot of details of the way, even it's like a battle, war. It's too far from my
When you were
piece.
practicing, when you were learning, you must have had a sensei, right? Were you ever angry at your sensei?
Oh,
Why is he telling me to do this?
oh, that's an interesting question. Oh, while practice between master, I have the Roshi and monastery training temple. Oh, he is not always gentle and doesn't give us right and easy way to do something. Sometimes very tricky, like not clear information. But still, we have a kind of a discipline. Even we don't grasp the whole meaning, just we move. We start to move without understanding. Just give first action is really important. So there is a famous story about Zen. One master found the water drops from the ceilings, probably heavy rain, and then there are two apprentices. Oh, the master said to them, "Oh, just bring something for this." Then one moves quickly and then come back, give the zaru. Zaru is a net. Then the other still looking for. Then maybe 5 minutes later, got a pan or pot. It's suitable for receiving the water drops. But the master got really angry to the later one. Oh, why you are so late? Then the first one, net doesn't work to catch, but he appreciated him, praise him. So, what do you learn from this story? So we have to go quickly, move quickly, even the lack of information or not so direct instruction, but still do something, and then we can learn. Oh, net it doesn't work really about to the raindrop. Then he will develop himself later. So that is a fundamental attitude for the training.
Right. Right.
So even the master gave us a kind of wrong information or wrong way of teaching, but we don't complain about that. Just accept.
So now that you are a master, do you give these kibishi challenges?
Oh, time is changing.
じゃあもうちょっと優しく。
More 優しい way.
No. And Sakamoto-san, I mean, with the Zen tradition, there is obviously sort of established practices. There is a sensei, a master, and deshi relationship. For you with the Yamabushi practice, do you have a master as well, or how do you develop? How did you develop your practice?
山伏は先生がいるかどうか、どうやっていろいろ勉強していくか。
山伏の世界、修行の中では修行のリーダーがいて、でその方の言うことは絶対なんです。受けたもうというんですけども、はいっていう意味があって、それ以外の言葉は言っちゃいけないって。でただ何も教えてくれないんですね。だから自分で興味を持って学んでいくしかない。だから山伏の世界に来たけど特にぼーっと過ごしてると 何十年経っても何も知らないままっていう。
山伏ちゃんとなんかその教会とかなんかあるん？ちょっと名刺とかなんか係長とか
昔は今よりはっきりとした組織があったんですけど、実は明治時代に一度禁止されているので、それでかなり文化は壊れてしまいました。
どこからの禁止ですか？
国からです。はい。
やっぱり神道のあれ。
そうです。
Wow.
So with Yamabushi, there is you have a teacher and you have to say yes to him for everything, but he doesn't really teach you anything. So you just have to learn by yourself. The other thing I guess was that Jesper asked whether the Yamabushi there's a proper kind of association. Daizaburo was saying that it actually got outlawed in Japan in the Meiji era by the Japanese government. So there's nothing really that exists that is proper these days.
Fantastic. I'd like to open it up for questions, comments from the audience. Glenn.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. I have a quick question for each of the three panelists. So for Mr. Ito, I'd like to ask you, you mentioned the importance of language and any kind of intercultural interaction. There are gaps in concepts, and I'm wondering what concepts have you found to be the most difficult to explain to non-Westerners? And for Mr. Sakomoto, you mentioned kind of similarities among various cultures. What are the criteria you use to decide where to do your performances? You've done Germany. You mentioned Thailand and was it Indonesia? I think. What criteria do you use? There are like 200 countries that you could do your performances in, but what are the reasons that you choose these particular countries? And then for Max, can you tell us a little bit more about the name of your company and what it means? Thanks.
Oh, this wouldn't be so smart answer to you, but dissolving the boundaries, I often use the metaphor. To Japanese, it's very clear, but it doesn't work to Westerners. That is, when you take a hot bath, at first you feel the hot water is outside or just touching your body, but gradually it's hot bath warms your body up. Then gradually, you cannot distinguish so much clear distinction. This is very, very clear for Japanese, but Westerners doesn't have this custom to take a bath every day. Then recently, hot bath and cold water bath, and then sauna, heated sauna and cold water, and then they enjoy the outside bathing, air bathing. That is also like meditative, but it's also one of the Japanese favorite. I hope it spreads out to everywhere. Then meditation instruction become easier, I think.
これまで僕がやってきたこと、本を書いたりとか、こうしたアートの活動をするっていうことも実は自分からやったことがないんですね。自分からやったことはなくて、みんなそういう自分に興味を持ってくれた人がこういうことをやってみないかって誘ってくれる。昨年のドイツでの芸術祭もそうですし、タイに行っていることもそうなんですけど、だから何か自分からやろうっていうよりは誘っていただくことによって、じゃあ頑張ろうと思ってやってる。
Rather than deciding where to perform, it's generally just responding to interest and invitations. Okay, and from Kamui is inspired by an Ainu word. So Ainu being the kind of indigenous population in Japan that unfortunately were discriminated against. similarities with Native American cultures, and they really looked at. They saw spirits in all natural objects, and really looked at nature as being sacred. There was a form of animism, which I think exists in a lot of Japanese belief systems, but that's where the name was inspired from. It's spelt differently in Ainu culture, but it means divine being. So they're really looking at nature as sacred and the ultimate kind of source of spirituality.
Thank you, all of you, for such wonderful activities that you're carrying out right now. I wanted to ask about how this relates to mental health. Mental health is a big issue in both Japan and I can speak for the United States, but especially during COVID, it became very apparent that people were kind of losing sight of purpose. And so I just wanted to ask, like, from each of your perspectives, like what you're doing, how that can, benefit. And the other thing is also, currently, I don't know the exact statistics, but in terms of like economic strife, both in Japan, the United States the economy's really on fire right now, but there are a lot of economic struggles for folks, and I'm just curious, like how you see your work maybe benefiting a lower income, what do you call it, strata, both in Japan or elsewhere.
There's been a lot of research done recently about the impact of nature on humans, and I think the impact on reducing anxiety and a positive impact on mental health. So I think during Corona, we've also seen naturally, organically, more and more trying to spend time in nature and less time in the cities. So, and there are doctors now in the US, certain states where doctors will prescribe time in nature. In Japan, we had this concept of forest bathing as well. So I think there's a lot of potential there. I don't think it's been formalized in a lot of countries. On your kind of question about helping regions, maybe underdeveloped regions, and people who need to kind of find a better source of income. I mean, one of the things that the Japanese government and a lot of Japanese businesses are doing here at the moment is regional development, because so much is being concentrated in the cities. And what we're trying to do with Kamui really is trying to help guides and operators across Japan, because in Japan, generally, even if you're an Olympic skier or a famous snowboarder and you're guiding people out in the mountains, you're getting paid very little. Maybe it's 3 or 4 times less than in the US. So we're trying to support those guides to access higher price point experiences. Typically, that means connecting them to international clients, but also kind of corporate clients.
I have a lot of guests concerns about the mind. Then I often ask them, when do you, which time of the day are you concerned most? Usually the answer is at night. And then they will feel lack of sleep. Then it's obviously mental problem. So I hope they shift the time earlier. Then a lot of problems solve out, I think. So temple activities are conducted in the morning usually. So morning meditation, morning chanting, and then, yes, when you live in Japan, you realize the beauty of morning. That is one of the biggest concepts that I struggle with to the other country people. Morning is really beautiful in Japan. So please appreciate the morning sunlight, and air is very clear, transparent. So then set certain activities regularly in the morning. That is very, very helpful for mental health, I think.
For 30 seconds, I mean, this is a superbly important question. And, I think that Japan, has a lot to contribute in the sense that the adoption of technology, right, the adoption of new rules, the adoption of robots, the adoption of, I think, even of artificial intelligence, leading to redevelopment and a refocusing on what does it mean to be a human being. I think Japan has always been very, very good at that, right? And so from that perspective, I think that, efforts like Kamui, what is lived and practiced here, I think can be a very, very good guiding light in terms of making us aware of what does it mean to be a human being. And, the more aware you become of what it is to be a human being, what it is to be yourself, the lower the problems with mental health are going to be. Because a lot of the mental health issues, right, and I'm not an expert, but a lot of the mental health issues are that you see yourself reduced in relation to what you think is expected of you from the community, from society, and transcending that by refocusing on what is it that myself, that I am about, which is what these practices here help you to do, what nature hopefully helps you to do, that way you become more healthy because, you don't care that much anymore about what other people think about yourself.
山伏が行っていることっていうのは、一度自分をこうなくすことだと思うんですね。それは山の中でいろいろなことをするんですけれども、代表的なのは山を歩くっていうこと、歩く禅っていうふうに言われることもあるんですだから歩いてると最初はいろんなことが頭に浮かんでくるんですね。お腹が減ったとか、なんか通り過ぎた女性が綺麗だったなとか、いろんなこと考えるんですけど、そのうち疲れてくると何も考えなくなって、でも足は動いてるっていう、体は動いてるけど心の中には何もないという状態が生まれてくるんで、自分にとってはそれがまず第一歩の驚きでしたね。そこから先っていうのはいろいろな深みがあるんですけれども、そこはなかなか言葉ではちょっと言いづらいというか、実際に体験していただいて感じていただくほかないことなのかなと思うんですけど、まず第一歩としてはそういう自分をなくしていくっていうことかと思います。それがやっぱり今の人っていうのは自分をどうやってこう考えるかっていうことがとても大きいウエイトを占めてると思うんですけど、一度それを取っ払うっていうのはいろいろな人に対して面白い体験になるんじゃないかなと思います。
So the Yamabushi practice is about losing yourself in the mountains, and when you start walking in the mountains, you do various different things in the mountains. But when you start walking in the mountains, maybe you're thinking about a lot of things, and as you get more and more tired, you really start thinking about nothing, and that's the first step in Yamabushi practice. And he feels that a lot of the kind of issues with mental health are caused by people thinking too much about themselves and how you should become.
Did you ever get lost?
迷ったことはありますか？
人生にですか、それとも道にですか
In life or in the mountains?
In life は後で話す。まずでもその山伏のあれで。
つい最近迷いました。
Yeah, recently, yes, I did get lost in the mountains.
Did you get scared?
しばらく歩いてあって気づくんですけど、
怖くなりました。
人を連れていたので。
So yeah, he was with people, so he did get a little bit scared.
For this question, this is for Sakamoto-san, but thank you for sending both Japanese and English. This is it's very helpful. Sakamoto-san, fascinating art and research. Thank you so much. My question is, how has your art and research changed you as a human being as you continue your journey studying Yamabushi and creating art? 日本語で申し上げます。山伏の研究と芸術の創作活動の旅を続けてなさっている中で、人間としてあなたをどのように変化をもたらしていらっしゃるんでしょうか。
山伏をやってあるいは他のさまざまなことをしてあなたはどう変わりましたっていうふうによく聞かれるんですけれども、自分ではわからないんです。多分それは僕ではなくて他の人が評価してくれることかと思うんですけども、自分自身で言えばこうしてこういう場でお話を聞いてくれる人がいたりとか、その環境はすごく変わりました。ただその自分がどう変わったかっていうのは実はそんなに自分自身ではわからないです。はい。
ちょっと追加コメントでちょっとお願いしたいんですけど、やっぱり最初のあれでやっぱり絵を描くとかそれでやって、じゃあ山伏になって今まだ絵を描いてます？
描いてます。
描いてます。
はい、
絵はやっぱり変わりましたか？
やっぱりその時々で変わるものなのでその山伏をやることによって得た知識がそこに生かされるっていうことはあるんですけども、どう変わったかとかっていうのはなかなかちょっと説明しづらいことですね。やってなかった場合を想定しないとそれってわからないじゃないですか。
Should I translate? So in response to how he's changed, he really Daizaburo can't really tell how he's changed. That's for people around him, I guess, to kind of determine. But through art, I guess more and more people have shown interest in what he does.
Thank you. We have a question from Houston. So our global community is growing, and this relates to global boiling these days. What are your suggestions when it is too hot or too cold to be outdoors? My nature experience is processing dried herbs from a farm every 2 weeks. Here in Houston, a lot of grass is being replaced by astroturf and cement.
今の質問ヒューストンからの質問なんですけど、外に出るのが暑すぎる時とか寒すぎる時はどうすればいいんですかっていう。
暖かい格好をするか涼しい格好をするかそれか無理をしないっていう点もあります。家にいる。
Please wear warm clothes or clothes appropriate to the weather and don't push yourself too hard.
It's a serious, for example, Ito-san, for you with meditation, I mean, Kyoto is freezing cold in the winter and it's scorching hot in the summer. Does that impact your meditation practice?
A lot. Actually, cold weather is okay because you can wear overcoats. In fact, when you started to meditate, the body activates a lot. So you feel the warmth inside of the body. Then you can enjoy the coldness. But in summer, it's difficult to avoid heat. And also, a lot of mosquitoes, attacks you. So that's quite irritating. But still, and get sweat. So you may feel this is opposite, but I encourage them to have walking meditation in summer. So maybe not mountain, flat floor, but still they can enjoy the texture of the wooden floor of the temple. It's a little cooler than, always sit. So we can choose a lot of varieties of meditation in each season?
Sorry, not so much a question, but about the mental health. I just wanted to say that last year in Japan, 21,881 people lost their lives to suicide. And so in terms of losing our boundaries and feeling connected to the divine, Tokyo English Lifeline has a lifeline that's available 24 hours on the weekend. So people at night who cannot sleep, who need to be connected to something and are not currently practicing in nature can always call in English, unfortunately only English, to the lifeline. So I wanted to comment that I think nature is a very important part to neuroscience and our sense of connectedness, but also mental health is quite complex and there's more to it. And so if anybody needs to reach out, please reach out not only to nature, but to connecting with other humans. Just a comment, thanks.
Just a cultural question. The name of your company is fantastic, but I'm just wondering, do you have any contribution from Okinawa in your company profile? It's very interesting that you're introducing the Yamabushi tradition. But when we look at Japanese culture, so much of the spiritual traditions actually come from Okinawa. So I'm just wondering, Max, how you're thinking about that.
I mean, we want to try to kind of showcase and provide experiences all around Japan. And, some of them are just purely outdoor activities, although I think some people find some spirituality in that. And then we have experiences like, Shugen or Yamabushi experiences or Zen experiences. So I'd love to find some more experiences in Okinawa. In Okinawa at the moment, we have more kind of water-based experiences, but nothing kind of connected to traditional Japanese spiritual beliefs.
Okay, maybe I could help you with that. Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Great, fantastic. We've come to the end of the session. I hope you found it a little bit inspiring. I think that clearly Japan's nature is a very powerful asset. The way Japanese traditions have evolved in dealing with nature, accepting nature. I think there's a lot of experiences that the rest of the world, as well as the younger generation of Japanese, can catch up, can learn, can refine, and can lead to the next evolution of it. And I commend you, Max, for setting up Kamui, not just an ice climbing and snowboarding adventure club, but something that tries to promote a little bit more. Some of the deeper things that, a lot of which have gotten lost, perhaps, with the great technological advance that Japan also has been part of. So going back to the soul, going back to nature, going back to the relationship that we as human beings have with nature, have with the divine, have with the spiritual. I hope that you will join, Ito Sensei, Sakamoto Sensei, Max on that journey. But I want to thank Max for bringing this together, Sakamoto-san for teaching us a little bit, about something that happens up north in Japan with the Yamabushi. Are they only up north, or that the Kansaiの方にもあるの？いるんだ。あ、そっか。沖縄もいるの？沖縄にもその文化の痕跡がある。やっぱり。Okay. So じゃあ全国の文化Yamabushi. And then of course the great Ito Sensei, right? Look forward to seeing you in Kyoto, and I hope that we can do some meditation all together at some point in the future. Thank you very, very much for attending, and we hope to see you at the next events. Thank you. Thank you.